Hi friend, in today's pick a card reading we are exploring what your dreams are trying to tell you at this time. This is a timeless reading, but at the time that I'm filming this, there are a few reasons why we might be experiencing more vivid, more confusing dreams. Part of that is that we are headed for eclipse season and dreams always intensify around eclipse season. There is a solar eclipse taking place on April 20th in Aries. There are a few other things that are happening right now. So Mars is currently in Cancer and it is trining Saturn in Pisces and also squaring Chiron. So there's a lot of subconscious movement happening right now that ultimately is trying to happen so that we can heal certain things. We're bringing things to the surface that need to be addressed, but sometimes these are things that we have been suppressing, and therefore they come up in our dreams. But in any case, like I said, this is a timeless reading, so if you catch this video sometime later, this should still be giving you some guidance if your dreams have been kind of funky, kind of weird, kind of entertaining. We're going to take a look and see what they are trying to tell you. So I have prepared 3 groups with just one oracle card in. We're going to pull the rest during the reading. So let me show you. For group 1, I have chosen this lovely white crystal to be your buddy crystal in this reading, and this is a scolecite. I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but that's how I'm reading it. It's a scolecite, which is actually a great crystal for aiding dreams and sleep. So that is for group 1. Group 2, you have this lovely serpentine. It looks kind of like an egg. Green, yellows, and some dark greens in there. There we go. That is group 2 with the serpentine. And then group 3, for you, I chose obsidian. A very protective crystal. And this one is kind of a rough one. Look at this. Look at that definition. Gorgeous. Okay, so I'm going to give you a moment to focus on which crystal, which group is calling you. Group 1, group 2, group 3. You can find the timestamps in the description below. And just a regular reminder, if you would like to book a personal reading with me, you can do so through the link down below as well. You can only book my readings through my website. I never solicit readings through DMs or anything like that, so don't get scammed. Okay, I'm gonna give you a moment to see which group is calling you the most. Hi group 1, this is your reading if you chose the scolecite. I wonder if I can get you a good close-up here, because there's some really cool stuff going on in this crystal, but it's really hard to see on camera. You're just gonna have to trust me that it's gorgeous. It kind of looks like a giant tooth. We're gonna set this oracle card off to the side and we will get to that later in the reading. For right now, we're gonna start off with some tarot cards. So we're gonna jump right into it. We are asking, what are your dreams trying to tell you at this time? For group 1, what are their dreams trying to tell them at this time? Let's get into it. But these came out together. Oh, interesting. They did come out together, and then taking just the top one felt wrong. Wow, the imagery of that. What is going on here? Okay, let me get some more context, but this is immediately I'm picking up on a conflict, an internal conflict that is about, that somehow ties into the part of you that wants to please people and the part of you that wants to follow just your own instincts, right? Because foxes are very much, you know, they're often portrayed as conniving, and dogs in turn are servants. And the fact that both of these are out for, and there's arrows in both of them as well. The fox indicates wanting to break free from that servant attitude. But then when it comes to actions, I think we're still reverting back to this behavior. Okay, moving on, we have, and by the way, this is the Eight of Swords and the Two of Swords. And then we have the Nine of Pentacles and the King of Cups. However, this deck is a tarot and oracle deck combined. I read this a little bit differently, okay? Just a heads up. But what are your dreams trying to tell you? What's at the bottom of the deck? And I don't take reversals in this deck. We have the Three of Swords, and this depiction has Hercules. I rarely ever see this card in this deck. I don't think I've ever actually really seen it or really like focused on it. Interesting. That's at the bottom of the deck. Your dreams are definitely pointing out this conflict. Even look at how they are. Let me give you a close-up of these. Look at how they kind of create a cycle. There's a cycle that is being created by serving others and then kind of secretly having to watch your own back, having to have your own back, having to kind of navigate your own impulses. And something always loses out, meaning there's some kind of collateral damage that happens because you're stuck in this cycle. And I think what your dreams are trying to tell you is that you're meant to graduate from this cycle. You're coming up to a time where you are meant to break free from this cycle because there's a lot of emotional maturing that you've done through experiences in relationships, not necessarily just romantic relationships, but in relation to people. There's a lot of experiences that you've made, and these are meant to have been guiding you through understanding boundaries, understanding dependency, understanding like a greater understanding in general. This picture especially, it's down here, one of the phrases is seeing the big picture, gaining perspective. But it's interesting because we have the Three of Swords at the bottom of the deck, and here it says great effort, trial, and persistence. I do feel that there's still like this burden of, why am I the one that has to like free myself? Why am I the one that has to break the cycle? So it could be like a generational cycle of some sort, but this is definitely a cycle that through very difficult decisions, I think you are pushing your way out of. And you know, when I'm seeing this imagery of a cycle, which is kind of a circle, right? I'm almost seeing this move in a spiral. So yeah, sometimes we move backwards, but ultimately we're moving forwards, even if it's kind of slow because we keep going in a cycle. But ultimately we are making our way over here, right? So we have the star come out with this fox. And this feels like, down here it says stimulation, interaction, communication. I think a lot of your conscious actions are all about keeping the status quo, all about serving others, maintaining the peace, keeping the peace. But what your dreams are trying to tell you, you might have dreams that are like overly aggressive, like there might be a lot of depiction of aggression, or you might have moments of aggression, moments of conflict. It feels like your dreams through your subconscious is acting up. Your subconscious is acting up. Your subconscious is kind of angry, and it almost feels like it's angry at you because both this hare, this rabbit, and this goose feel like they're still part of you. And there's something where, oh, this dog, the servitude that you have in your conscious actions actually stifles your movement forward, right? And the bunny jumping, right? Making progress. There's something about conflict coming up in your dreams, and I think it can make them really stressful, but I think it might be coming up in a way where it's showing you that, yeah, it's stressful, but it's worth it. Because again, the fox is all about following your impulses, and if you don't do it if you don't address that unconscious need of yours to get your needs met, then it will come out in an aggressive way. Now, that doesn't have to be physical aggression. That can also be, you know, in communication and in some kind of conflict. Passive aggressive conflict is very possible. We have the Five of Pentacles. Yeah, see, this feels like conflict and being of two minds, especially because this is here represented by Gemini energy. And then this is very much of like, yeah, I'm willing to work together because I'd rather work together with people than not have anyone by my side. So it's very people-pleasing energy here. But then there's this part of you that is like, okay, but then we're not getting what we need. And two cards coming out at once. I will take them as they come out. We have the Ace of Pentacles, and then we have the Wheel of Fortune. And then at the bottom of the deck, we have the Tower. The Tower is this energy of your subconscious and your dreams. Your dreams are telling you that we need to act in accordance with our needs. Because right now, I think your subconscious is like, and I heard the word begging, so I have to use it. Your subconscious is like begging for attention, and it's not necessarily the kind of attention that we think of when we hear the word attention, right? We think of, oh, like being on social media to get attention, or just someone like looking at you or paying you attention. Like, no, your subconscious is like, I want my needs validated. I want my desires validated. It's not as superficial. And that might be one of your worries, that you think that asking for things will make you seem like you're just kind of you're being superficial about relationships because people aren't showing up. Oh, I wonder if you have the kind of relationships like friendships, family, and partners in your life that, you know, it's the kind of people that where it's like, oh, I know I can always depend on them, but they might not answer my text for hours, or they might not address certain, like they might not respond to certain things when I bring them up, or they're not really excited when I share exciting news. But if I needed them, I know that they would be by my side. Like I feel like there's something shifting here where we're recognizing, okay, but that's not enough. Like it needs to be more than you just telling yourself, oh, but I know that they care, and I know, like, if you have to explain that away, that doesn't mean that you're actually feeling cared for and supported, right? And so there's definitely some really harsh lessons that are coming to the surface, and this Tower card to me indicates that this is coming out in your dreams, but it will come out. Like this is, especially because, like I said, there's going to be an eclipse. Eclipse energy unfolds over a matter of like 6 months. And realistically, we're having our first eclipse in Aries because the North and South node are moving. They're shifting from the Scorpio-Taurus axis into the Aries-Libra axis. So over the next year and a half, we're going to experience change in a certain realm of daily life. And I think for you, this is initiating the desire to show up for yourself more. And this is going to translate into your waking life for sure. Okay, let's get some oracle cards. I don't want to beat this to the death. Just to address it right quick, this Ace of Pentacles to me is just indicating like that you will be recognizing growth that you've made through experiences. And then this King of Cups with this Wheel of Fortune just shows like an emotional maturing. But you also have to recognize, especially with this Wheel of Fortune and the Tower card over here, we have to recognize that people are going to react to any kind of changes that you have, exhibiting your trying to bring your more subconscious needs to the surface. People are going to be like, what do you mean you have demands? What do you mean you have needs? What do you mean you want stuff? What do you mean you need stuff, right? And that's what's going to cause external changes. And that's why we have this, because the Wheel of Fortune and the Tower card definitely indicate that there will be external adjustments to this internal energy that is happening. Give me one card for group 1. What are the dreams trying to tell them? I do feel like you might have a lot of dreams where you're working with people, or you're like trying to speak to people and they might not hear you. Become more objective and create boundaries at the bottom of the deck. I'm telling you, become more objective doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, you need to make more excuses for other people. It's exactly the opposite. You need to become more objective when it comes to the people that you keep making excuses for. So you need to become more objective and recognize that I think there are some people in your life, or situations, could even be a job, that are not treating you the way that you deserve to be treated, that are not giving you, where if you saw that outside of yourself within other people, you'd be like, oh, that's not a good friend, or that's an awful job, or that's like not a great situation to be in. You need to get out of that. But because you're in it, you try to minimize your own needs in some capacity, and you're just like, oh, like they're going through a hard time right now. They can't show up for me the way I need them to. Like there's there's something where we need to address where you've been making yourself smaller, making excuses for other people, and create boundaries. Because if the people aren't aware of your boundaries, then they can't respect them. Let's get one of these. Ultimately, I know this is kind of going to be a rough, this is like a rough transition from your dream life to the real life, but it's going to be so worth it. It's going to be very worth it. But yeah, so in your dreams, you might be having situations of conflict. There might be situations where you feel like you're being silenced in dreams, where you can't speak. You might be in situations where all of a sudden you're being forced to be in some kind of job or some kind of working environment and you're like unprepared or something like that. Which one? It's the top one. Oh, and apparently this one wants out too, so I will take it. But this one, we have misalignment. That's exactly what I'm feeling. The fact that this is an alignment that is being readjusted, okay? Miracles become normal once we face all of the aspects of our life in the same direction, meaning this cycle, we're trying to get both the fox and the dog faced in the right direction, because it's okay to serve people. That might be a part of your nature. It might bring you a lot of joy to be someone that serves people and that helps people and that is kind and that isn't, you know, that is someone who is trustworthy. That might be part of your nature. But it's getting to a point where it's like unhealthy, and so your subconscious comes out in that very kind of like fox-like way. And in Melting Mask, yes, this is just confirming that we are realigning because currently we are misaligned. So that's what your dreams are trying to tell you. Allow your spirit self to shine through the many roles that you fulfill. You might have a lot of obligations where you're supposed to serve, where your role is an older sibling, or you take care of an elderly parent or grandparent, or you work in a working environment, your job, where you take care of people. But we need to recognize that cannot bleed into everything you do, and you are not meant to take care of everything and everyone around you. You need to address your own needs as well. And this is melting. And the fact that we have the Nine of Pentacles here along with the King of Cups tells me that you've done a lot of work. You've done a lot of your homework already. And the reason this is coming up in your dreams is because we are ready to implement actual changes in your waking life. And it's like, we have had it. Your subconscious is like, nah, I'm not doing this much longer. You've studied, you've understood, you're making progress in theory, and now we need to follow it up with action. Very, very straightforward in this reading, to be honest. Let's see. Where are we at? Okay, I don't want to drag this out too much, so I want to see, let's get you one of these. Sorry, if you've chosen group 1 in my pick a cards before, then you know that this is where we establish this is where we establish how it's gonna go. Okay, so I want to pick a card from, or let's get maybe 2 from my Spirit Whispers deck, and this deck is going to tell us how can we get more in tune with our highest self, if I could talk, perhaps our subconscious. How can we get in touch with spirit, our subconscious, our higher self? How can we aid this alignment? So we have fire. Oh, that's really fitting for this eclipse because that's taking place. It's a solar eclipse in Aries, which Aries is a fire sign. So there might be some things that you quite literally want to burn. There might be some bridges you'd like to burn, but there might be some old mementos, some old letters, something that you might want to burn. The other thing that you can also do is just light a candle with intention of trying to release old behaviors that don't serve you anymore. Let's get one more for group 1. And we have cleanse. Yeah, see, this is all about release for you. This is definitely about letting go of behaviors that don't serve you anymore in lots of areas of your life. So whether that is cleansing your friend group, whether that is cleansing your workspace, whether that is cleansing your closet or your body, there's something where I think we need to reestablish control over a certain aspect or area of our life through honoring our boundaries and honoring our worth. So a cleanse isn't about restricting yourself. A cleanse is about taking control and ownership and bringing taking control of like the energies also, and deciding like I get to say which energy gets to stay. It's very, I could talk a lot about that. Sorry, I feel like my brain is trying to take me down a whole rabbit hole, and meanwhile Spirit is telling me move on. So I think I said what I needed to say there. Let's get one last oracle card. Actually, I think I'm lying. I think there's more. Look at that, spring, and look, that's exactly what I said. This bunny that is being like killed by this servitude, that bunny wants to spring. It wants to spring. It wants to spring forward. It wants movement and release at the bottom of the deck. Again, talking about releasing, okay? So, yeah. Spring could also indicate spring cleaning, cleanse. That's what I had mentioned, your closet. And getting rid of aspects of your personality that don't align with you anymore, okay? Now, let's take a look at this card. I live in truth. That is beautiful. Look at this card. I live in truth. This oracle card is asking you to be truthful, especially with melting mask as well and misalignment, right? This card is asking you to be truthful to your needs, truthful to yourself, because you are not doing anyone any favors by making yourself smaller in any kind of relationship, because all that happens is we build up a form of resentment, we build subconscious ways to still get what we need. And so living in truth is about honoring your needs so that you can have healthy relationships that foster communication. Because oftentimes when you're holding back truth because you think that makes it easier for the other person, subconsciously people can feel that. And then when you hold back truth, then they begin to hold back truth as well, right? And we want to foster honest and open communication. And so living in truth is also telling me again that this is about taking action, making choices in your waking life that align with your needs and your truth. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I just realized we did not roll the dice, my goodness. I would say like maybe one time we don't use the dice, but I can't have them on display and then not roll them. That's kind of rude. So let's roll the dice. Can't believe I forgot. Ooh, look at that. We have the 10th house, we have Jupiter, and we have Sagittarius, which Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, and the 10th house is the highest point of your chart. It is your career. So again, this could indicate you being unhappy in a job and needing to make a real life choice that actually leads you in the right direction of your career, not just a job, right? But what you're meant to do. But also it doesn't have to be about career, because the 10th house is about our appearance and having ourselves be seen and having our needs be seen and recognized. It's where we shine. It's where we are fully seen at our best. And with Jupiter and Sagittarius, Sagittarius indicating a time of learning and understanding, but also it is higher learning, so applying higher learning, seeing the big picture, and expanding with optimism into a new version of yourself is what I'm getting from that, okay? All right, I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope it resonates. Let me know in the comments. And I hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care. Hi, Group 2. This is your reading if you chose this serpentine crystal. I'm trying to show you without the glare, but the sun's bright today, which is nice. I'm not going to complain. This stone is so cool. Crystal, rock. Look at it. It's so cool. This is what you chose, and this is your oracle card. We're going to put it off to the side, and we're going to start pulling tarot cards first. This is actually a tarot and oracle deck combined. I read it a little bit differently. We will see what comes out. So for Group 2, what are their dreams trying to tell them at this time? Group 2, what are your dreams trying to tell you? Let's see. Oh, okay, taking just the top one. We have the 7 of Pentacles. Oh, okay. We have Mercury. I'm taking just the top one, although I feel that one needs to come out as well. So, let's see. Wow. I feel like your dreams might be extremely confusing. Possibly very vivid while you're experiencing them. Oh, what is up with my voice? But then you wake up and you can't even make sense of them. Very interesting. This vibe is very existential. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It just got more existential. Okay. We have the 7 of Pentacles. We have Mercury represented with 1. We have Pluto represented with 9, and then we have the Death card. And then at the bottom of the deck, we have the 6 of Cups. So interesting, because this indicates to me that you go through these dreams with a certain naivete. Like, it almost feels like these dreams are probably really dark and heavy, and you just kind of wander through them like, whoa, look at that. I'm seeing like Alice in Wonderland imagery. Alice in Wonderland. I'm also getting Wizard of Oz, like being submerged in something that is like all encompassing and still feeling like not necessarily freaked out. It feels like you're in a place where you're like, how did I get here? I don't know how to get out. Like, feeling like there's a certain gravity to these dreams. But there might even be some kind of weird quests, just like in The Wizard of Oz. Some kind of weird little quests, and then you wake up and you're like, what? I don't even, what? Why did I don't know. It definitely is very heavy, and I feel like it's very confusing because these dreams are very existential. These are very existential dreams, and what I mean by that is that they like the the experience of these dreams have a lot to do with topics that boil down to life and death and the experience of that. I don't know if you are in a place where you are trying to come to terms with certain aspects of mortality in general, but we have the death card, we have Pluto. Those are very, very obviously, I mean, the death card doesn't have to be as literal as, oh, you're having dreams about death, but it just has this very extreme depth to it, especially with the Pluto card right next to it. There's such depth. And the death card is all about transformation and things ending so that new things can begin. And especially with Pluto, Pluto energy is all about bringing the things that we don't want to look at, that are so deeply deposited, bringing that to the surface to heal it. There's some deep-rooted fears here, and these are very, very normal fears, is what I want to say. And that's why I feel like, and they might be fears that you've suppressed since childhood, that certain things where you've kind of, especially if I look at these colors and how they're like, there's just something about having suppressed something throughout childhood, and then maybe now it comes up, and it's like the way that you connect to that topic is still very much from a place of how you connected to it as a child, because you've kind of refused to do any maturing around it. And I don't mean that in a negative sense. I'm not trying to say that you are not mature, but it's like, okay, how can I explain this? This is a very intricate feeling. Let's say when you were a child, you learned a language, okay? Let's say you learned French only for like 2 years as a child, and then now you're a full-grown adult and you're connecting back to learning French. There's some kind of bridge in your brain that remembers certain things, but it's still at a level of where your brain capacity was when you were a child. I hope that makes sense. And so there is something here where, because it has been very much suppressed, and I do think, I know it's very literal with this death card, but I keep getting this sensation of it being really, really existential. And so that does feel quite literal, with fear around death, fear around finality, permanence, impermanence, lots of themes of perhaps fear of being like a good or bad person. Like, I'm gonna get some more cards in a second, but this is very rich. I mean, just this is an incredible combination of cards. And the fact that the Mercury card came out is just, to me, confirming that these are very, very deep conversations that your conscious and subconscious are having while you are asleep. Mercury is about communication and about like thought processes and how you digest certain things. Look at this card. It's like difficult to even make sense of what you're looking at, right? But you're following a thread, you're following something. This is so interesting. And then with this 7 of coins, in this deck represented by procrastination, delay, and distraction, it just feels like this is something that you've never addressed up until now. You've always kind of like pushed it to the side, and because of that, it kind of feels very heavy to you. And yet when I'm looking at it over here, these cards are very beautiful. But I know that like fear of death and things like that of course so valid. But there's also like a beauty to be discovered in this exploration, and that is something that you've avoided because of the fear of looking at something. There's some kind of fear of really facing something, and then once you actually do face it, it's almost like hypnotic in a way. It's very interesting. This is the Pluto card. This is Pluto is the ruler of the underworld, so this river right here to me is a representation of the river Styx. Finality, distance, separation. I need to pull more cards, but I'm just like really fascinated by this energy. And see, that's the thing. I sorry, I didn't mean to stutter. I'm probably approaching this topic from a very different angle than you. I'm here, sitting here like, wow, this is so fascinating, because my name is Pluto's Eye for a reason. Like, I've dealt with a lot of these topics for a long time, and I am a Plutonian, I have a lot of Scorpio energy. I'm very comfortable in the depths of this kind of energy, but I do understand that this is not necessarily an energy that is very approachable for a lot of people. And so this could be, you could have picked this pile because it's completely foreign to you, or you could have picked this pile because you have a natural knowledge. I was going to say comfort, but that seems kind of extreme. You have a natural draw to that kind of energy, but you haven't quite explored it yet. It could really be either or. But let's try and get some more cards. Otherwise I'm going to be yapping on forever. Tell me about this Seven of Pentacles. This is such an interesting energy. I feel like literally hypnotized by it. Like I'm almost getting like this imagery, which is not an imagery, it's like of like sirens, of like, I don't know, there's something very seductive about this very, very dark existential energy, which might also indicate that you feel oddly drawn to it, and that kind of scares you because you don't understand why. We have the Knight of Pentacles underneath this Seven of Pentacles. We have the Wheel of Fortune come out with Mercury. And look at that. These ribbons that we see here that are very colorful. Oh, you know what? And I was trying to make sense of this imagery earlier, and I do see some form of a skull of like a bull or something. But then here we have a horse, and this red ribbon-like thing that ties around is a snake. I'm going to make sense of that in a second. I just need to sit with it. We have the Moon with Pluto. Oh, this is such a layered energy. This is really, I know I sound like oddly excited by it, but it's honestly like really fascinating. Oh my God, see, and it just gets more fascinating. This is so interesting. Okay, yep, so at the bottom of the deck we have the Two of Cups, and in this deck, this Two of Cups to me always speaks about alignment and about kind of like somehow separating from, like the separation of like higher self and physical self is what I get from this card very often. And especially with this, I feel like there's a physical aspect. There's like a physical manifestation of yourself where you're like, oh, I don't want to think about that stuff. Like, no, that's spooky, that's scary, that's uncomfortable, like that I don't want to, that gives me anxiety. But then there's the higher self version of you that's just like, there's so much power there. And that's actually something I wanted to bring up earlier, and I totally forgot with this Pluto energy, because Pluto energy is all about power and control. And there's an aspect here where part of your dreams, I think, are indicating to you that if you were to just face certain things, you would take their power away from them and you would actually just absorb that power. This is such a powerful energy over here. Like this is something that is, it feels like it's accessible to you. And I think that's something that you're going to grow into, or that you are being guided into in some form. I think you feel more comfortable with very material topics, like, you know, like just very I don't know why I'm having trouble saying that, because I'm just like, my brain can't compute, because my brain is all metaphysical. But like, I can't even come up with any examples. But this Knight of Pentacles is very much like, just like, I feel like you're more comfortable with things that can be proven. You're more comfortable with things that are like, yeah, that's something I can see, it's something I can touch, like I can trust this. And that's what it is, it's about trust. But there's a change in the way that you perceive or communicate things. I'm getting so many things right now. Oh, okay, sorry. I'm getting slightly overwhelmed because I'm getting a lot of different avenues that this can go for a lot of different people. Some of you are being activated, activated spiritually. Some of you are going to, okay, can we slow it down? Sorry. It is just a lot coming through. Okay. And I think that's probably how you feel whenever this approaches you. For some of you, this may have to do with being activated towards mediumship, which is not easy, which is a very difficult thing to do, and it can be very intimidating if you're not fully educated around the topic, right? But this Wheel of Fortune card indicates to me that there is something that you are meant, this is part of your story, that you are meant to face, that there's literally something is clicking in your brain that is like adjusting to a new way of thinking, because your old way of thinking was holding you down. And you wanted to stay safe in some area of your life, and whatever is real and tangible made you feel safe. And I think that you were probably a little bit rejecting an aspect of yourself because it didn't feel real or tangible, because it didn't make sense. And I think you're getting to a point where you're going to start to make sense of things. And then once you start making sense of them, you're like, oh, that's when you tap into power. And that's when you really get in tune with your intuition with this Moon card, and you realize how powerful your intuition is. And then you realize a lot of what you actually were meant to embrace. And this could be triggered by having to face topics of mortality. So whether that is through loss in your life, this could have to do, I've been getting this a couple times, so I have to mention it. This could have to do that you are actually feeling drawn to some kind of career that somehow connects to aspects that most people would find very dark and morbid. So whether that is going like working in a mortuary, or something like that. Like there's a million careers that have to do that surround death in a very particular way. And it doesn't always have to be physical death. There's lots of careers that have to do with the ending of things, right? Making sense and supporting people through the process of dealing with loss and endings. For some of you, that could even have to do with a divorce law. I don't know, that just came out of nowhere. But this Seven of Cups, we start with the Seven of Pentacles and then we end with the Seven of Cups down here. And this is actually in this deck depicted by, this is a depiction of Chiron. I don't know that it's specifically supposed to be Chiron. It's a centaur, and that's essentially what Chiron is the wounded healer. He's a wounded centaur. So that's what I'm connecting it with right now. And the fact that I did mention that currently Mars is in Cancer, squaring Chiron. The Seven of Cups typically represents kind of like overwhelm, emotional overwhelm. But in this deck with this centaur here and me thinking about Chiron, Chiron is a figure that is wounded, but because of his wounds is in the best position to help people. And to help people in a way that actually helps them and not just, slapping a band-aid on it. You might want to look into the story around Chiron. But there's something where you are elevating, you're stepping into, eventually, okay, this is still talking about what are your dreams trying to tell you. And so your dreams speak to you on a very subconscious level, all of us, right? And so this is still just kind of prepping you. This doesn't mean that you're going to wake up tomorrow and you're going to discover your life's purpose. But this is what it's meant to do. It's really pushing you in a direction that has a lot to do with your life's purpose. I feel that very strongly. Let's roll some dice. I could talk about this spread forever. I think this is an absolutely beautiful spread. I understand why it would feel intimidating. I think it's a very, very beautiful and very powerful spread. And also, I just want to mention, this is serpentine. We saw some snake imagery. You might want to look into serpentine. It is a very powerful and transformational, so I'm not surprised that this came out with this. But it is a very, very powerful crystal, so you might want to look into that. Look at that. I love how it even landed on the Mercury card. This is the third house, which is about communication. And look at, we have the third house, communication, Mercury, communication, and Sagittarius. You are learning, your brain, like your understanding of your powers, your abilities, your understanding is expanding. You're learning something, and it's literally like changing your brain chemistry in a way where something that you used to be intimidated by or kind of just didn't want to deal with is about to become your biggest strength. This is so incredible. Somebody's gonna start talking to spirits, I'm telling you. Did you hear that? My cat just meowed. That was right as I was making noise with the cards, but I feel like that was a confirmation. Somebody's about to start talking to spirits, and if that is the case, that does not need to scare you. Just do some research on how to prepare yourself. Meditation is very important if that is the case, should you get into mediumship. Boundaries are very important, so don't be intimidated. Everything is manageable. Give me one card for group 2 to make sense of their dreams. What are their dreams? Oops, it fell to the floor. What is it? Yes. We have Explore Your Ancestry. I don't know why that made me so happy. Are you kidding me? I know you're not kidding me, but I love this feeling. Contemplate death and beyond is at the bottom of the deck. Contemplate death, and that's the thing. It's and beyond, because there is beyond. Explore your ancestry. This is not something that is just randomly popping up in your genes. This is something that you probably have repressed since childhood, but it's probably something that within your ancestry has always been there. It might be that some of your ancestors are trying to communicate with you, but there's something that has always been there for good reason, because it's part of your power. And once you face this, once you tap in, you're actually tapping into not just your power, you're tapping into like ancestral power. You're tapping into something that is larger than you, and that's why it's very intimidating. Contemplate death and beyond. The fact that that card came out, wow. Let's get one card for group 2. What are the dreams trying to tell them? Oops. We have strength of vulnerability. True power lies at the root. Oh my goodness. Can I talk, please? True power lies at the root of a perceived weakness. That is exactly what I'm telling you. There's something that you think is scary. You're like, I'm not dealing with this. I'm not facing this. And the moment that you do, the moment you take control, it is yours. It's literally once you choose, once you decide to take control, once you're like, you know what, maybe I should take control of this. Boom, it's yours. It's yours immediately. And then you're going to be like, whoa, this is an incredible feeling. I need to explore this. Somebody here is a witch, for sure. Absolutely. I was looking at this moon card. Okay, this is my Spirit Whispers deck. We're going to get 2 cards on how to connect better with your higher self, with your subconscious. How can we get in touch to make sense of these things? Also, I want to point out again these ribbons that we saw here. Right here, she's holding a ribbon. And look at all these ribbons here. This is accepting some kind of destiny, some kind of responsibility, I want to say. We have nurture. And we have frequencies. Okay, so, and then at the bottom of the deck is clairalience, which is smell. So you might be smelling things when you wake up, or right as you're about to fall asleep, you might get a whiff of something, and that might kind of be a symbol for a spirit guide being present or something like that. I just felt called to say that. So we have nurture and frequencies. Frequencies are like the audio frequencies that activate certain areas of our brain that can help stimulate certain brain activities. And you can look those up on YouTube, and you can watch frequency music that will stimulate certain areas that might help you get more in control of your dreams. There are frequencies that can help you with lucid dreaming, especially when you feel like your dreams, like you're having a hard time remembering them, or you're having a hard time making sense of them. You might want to get into those to help you lucid dream, so that you can get kind of control of what's going on in your dreams. And nurture. Why do I feel like this card is going to make more sense to you than it makes to me? But I wonder if this has to do with nurturing a certain ability. Nurturing something that you have been, nurturing something that you have been pushing aside, that you have been avoiding, nurturing something that you have been neglecting. You've been neglecting it. And you're being asked to nurture it and watch it grow. Yep. is interesting because this whole time wow, okay, yeah. Sorry. This is a really, really intense, energetic reading. But the whole time that I was talking about nurture, I'm sitting here and I've been swaying like back and forth, like the way you would if you're rocking a baby. I'm kind of like rocking back and forth, and that's just an energetic like wash that's going through my body, meaning I'm not doing it on purpose. So that might be something, you know, like that is, there's something to nurture. And that coming up over ancestry. Interesting. Okay. Now let's pull one of these for group 2. Give me one of these oracle cards for group 2. What are their dreams trying to tell them? Any positive? What do we got? Protected. I love this. Also, this one's kind of peeking out, and this one came out in the last reading as well. Spring, where we're in spring, but this is about moving forward and jumping into what you're meant to jump into. But I also love, also this one just kind of wanted to come out, the garden, which is also about nurturing. I love that this card, protected, came out because it's like, you've been avoiding facing something that's really dark because it feels like you have to face it alone. And this card is just confirming that your spirit guides are with you, your higher self. Like you are protected. There is support with you, and you don't have to face this alone. You're protected, okay? Now, last card, we are going to take a look. I have not seen this card. We're going to take a look at what this says. I relate in peace. This is interesting because immediately what's standing out to me is the fact that relate, like relatives. I feel like one of your ancestors is like trying to communicate with you, and it freaks you out. And so you just, you know, maybe when you were younger, they would come through in some shape or form and it freaked you out. And so you're just like, no. I relate in peace. The way these hands are over these symbols is almost giving me like Ouija board vibes. Please don't necessarily mess with a Ouija board. I'm not a fan. There are other ways to communicate, but this is really interesting. Also, the fact that we're seeing all symbols here just indicates to me that something is trying to communicate to you through symbolism, through synchronicities probably, but I relate in peace is also talking about the fact that if you know you are protected and that nothing can harm you, then you will approach something that's very scary to you. Let's say the boogeyman, right? With that's just such a, it's such a caricature of dark energy, right? The boogeyman. So let's say you're afraid of facing the boogeyman, but then if you knew I'm completely protected, nothing can harm me, how would you approach the boogeyman? You're not going to show up and be like, you can't do shit to me. Like, you wouldn't be aggressive towards the boogeyman because you don't want to piss him off either, right? I'm not telling you to get in touch with the boogeyman, but I'm just trying to use that as like a caricature of dark energy, right? But I relate in peace, and the knowing that you're protected, I think that's just asking you to be like, you don't have to be anxious around communicating, and that it's like you want to bring down your energy a little bit so you're not anxious when you're doing this. So meditation's going to be important, but, and especially with frequencies too. But it's about, you know what, like I am peaceful, I am open to receiving, but there's something about really kind of like not being afraid, but also like making it known. You know, when you're trying to approach a kind of like a feral cat or something, you kind of have to, you have to calm down so they calm down, and you kind of have to have some patience, and you have to make it clear that you come in peace, right? If you're still sticking around and you're like, I have no clue what this lady is talking about, I wanna try and layer this in a way where if you don't feel like this is a spiritual like calling or anything like that, that this really just has to do with the fear around death, and to approach the idea around death with just with a more calm energy. So whether you've been experiencing loss quite close to you, or if you even are experiencing the threat of losing your own life, I think there's a lot to speak about here when it comes to nurturing that fear and not just dismissing it, not just suppressing it, but letting it breathe, so that that anxiety can kind of, strength of vulnerability, so that anxiety can breathe, so it can come out, so we don't suppress it. And again, if that is the case with this centaur, I feel like with all this Mercury energy, this is very specific, but if you are a person that is dealing with if you are approaching the end of your life knowingly, then with all this Mercury energy, I think this has to do about talking about it, and really kind of sharing your story and sharing your fears and sharing your journey. I think has a lot of potential for really helping you transition as well as other people. And that's going to be very, very few of you, okay? That's like one of you, if that. But I wanted to honor that as that was coming up. Okay, oh my goodness, this got long. Sorry, but I do hope it resonates. I hope it can give you some peace in approaching this topic, as this was a very, very layered and very intense energy. So you don't have to feel uneasy for suppressing this kind of thought process. Just be gentle with yourself and this process. But ultimately, I think there's a lot of power waiting for you to tap into it, and that's a beautiful thing. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you so much for hanging out. I really hope it resonated, and I do hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care. Hi, Group 3. This is your reading if you chose this obsidian piece. We're going to set this right up here, and then we're going to put your oracle card off to the side and leave that for the end of the reading. And we're going to get right into it. So for Group 3, this is my tarot and oracle deck combined, so I read this a little bit differently, but let's get into it. For Group 3, what are their dreams trying to tell them? What are the dreams of Group 3 trying to tell them? Let's talk about it. Ooh, we have the Page of Air. We have the Page of Water. Both very dreamy energies. And look at all this like water imagery. We have the Six of Pentacles. And more. Like, this is like literally every like watery imagery in the deck. And look at another page, the Page of Fire. And then at the bottom of the deck we have Uranus for right now. Interesting. So your dreams might be extra dreamy. Like, I'm talking fog machines. I'm talking like dancing in the stars. Not with the stars, but you know, technically. I'm talking side quests. I don't know why. But so much watery imagery here. But then this very stern Uranus looking over it. Interesting. What are your dreams trying to tell you? You might be having a lot of dreams that have water in them. Definitely a strong emotional aspect to all of these cards. The pages are all about exploring new avenues and with kind of like reckless abandon is what I just heard. With a little bit of reckless abandon. So the page is a little less calculated than the knight. The page is just like, I'm just gonna try it, see what sticks. So in these dreams, they might be a little bit on the wild side in terms of structure. It might just be you trying new things. But I think it's interesting that all of this is leading to the Page of Fire, because I think that out of all of these pages, the Page of Fire is going to be the most likely energy that carries into your waking life. But with this imagery in this deck, still always feels very intuitive to me. And so I think this has something to do with, oh, I had this inspiration strike in a dream, and I'm actually gonna try this thing. This could have to do with like inspiration in terms of like artistic inspiration, like you see or you hear a melody in your dream and then you wake up and you're like, that was weird, let me just try it out, let me see if it works. And this Uranus energy is all about trying different things as well. It's just like a change in action. The Six of Pentacles. It's going to be interesting to see what context comes out with that. But the fact that we have both here with the Page of Water, this imagery, we have multiple people, and the Six of Pentacles is all about community, and especially with this card, here for this Page of Waters card, I'm getting a sense of like spiritual guidance, like maybe having your spiritual team influence your dreams and giving you some kind of inspiration through there. But the Six of Pentacles feels different. The Six of Pentacles definitely feels like an odd one out in this row of cards. But I'm trying to figure out why. I think whatever it is you're being inspired to explore in your dreams is a little bit out of your wheelhouse. And you might have people depending on you. And so that might kind of like, it might halt your creative freedom in some way. Let's get some more context. Tell me about this Page of Air. We have the Five of Wands, interesting. We have the High Priestess come out with the Page of Water, which again to me that confirms that this is some kind of spiritual, within your dreams, some kind of spiritual, I'm hearing musing, but inspiration, that's the word I was trying to go for. What about the Six of Coins? The King of Cups. Seeing big picture. And then the Knight of Coins. Yes, so we are taking inspiration from our dreams. There's some sacrifices that we're going to have to make. We are taking this inspiration from our dreams and going to try and implement that into real life. There's some kind of inspiration that strikes. some kind of knowledge that comes through our dreams is going to help you see something differently, or it's going to help you recognize where you are bleeding energy, where you are overgiving, where you are benefiting others more than you are actually receiving. And that's going to lead to making some really difficult decisions in your waking life, I think, because you're recognizing, oh, that is not supportive of me. And I need to cut that out. I think this is actually, and you know what, obsidian is actually very much a very, very protective crystal, right? And I think I'm getting the strong vibe from this row right here that this is spiritual protection in action, because there's something that's happening that you might not be fully aware of, and I don't know if this is a person or a job, but there might be some kind of situation where you're like, I don't know, I just got weird vibes around this situation. And you don't really have anything to base any decisions off of, and that's probably why you've been avoiding making a decision around that subject. But it's getting to a point where you're going to be like, I just have to trust my intuition and follow through on what my intuition is telling me. This could also have to do with financial investment, to be honest. But that's kind of just a random note. But it is there's something that's going to require some sort of sacrifice. What is underneath that? Yeah, there's something where we have to get uncomfortable so that we can get comfortable. Wow, that's weird. You know what? The other two readings were very straightforward, and this one's a little bit more elusive. And the fact that it starts off with this kind of elusive energy, I think it makes sense. It almost feels like the kind of dreams that you're having are like so elusive that you don't even recognize that they are messages, but you're still receiving it subconsciously. They serve as confirmation for something that I think you are already aware of. And it's your spiritual team, your energetic protection. It's like your energetic alarm system that is saying like, hey, you know that thing that you feel weird about? Yeah, that's for a reason. And you might not even wake up really remembering what happens in your dreams, but there's just something where it's just like every day you wake up and you have to face that situation again, whether it's a person or a job, every time you have to face it, that feeling gets stronger and stronger, and you're just like, I just feel like I know it. I don't have any proof, but I know it. And it's because when you're dreaming, you're getting constant confirmations, because your subconscious is like, the alarm bells are going off. There's some kind of conflict with this Five of Wands. There's some kind of conflict that is really battling on a very subconscious level, on a very energetic level. So this could be a situation where you're dealing with someone where both of you are just very, very kind of like passive aggressive with each other, or you have to make things work, and so you're not fully addressing issues. It's a headache. Honestly, I literally am just getting a headache from this. I had to take a sip of water. And that's the thing, this feels like an emotional headache. Yeah, this is like an emotional draining situation on you. And it's probably so draining that when you're awake, you're just like, I don't want to have to think about this. I don't want to have to deal with this. And then it just comes up in your dreams. It's a very emotional situation with this King of Cups here as well. But then again, this last row to me indicates that it's like you reach a boiling point where your intuition is getting so loud that even in your waking life you can hear it, right? Because right now it's like you've been going through this situation and you've just been kind of ignoring what your intuition is telling you. And then your dreams are like, are you sure? And you wake up the next day and you're like, oh, I think I had a weird dream. I don't know. And you go to sleep and again, your dreams are like, are you sure about that person or that situation or that job? Are you sure? And then it keeps happening to the point where it's like, it gets to a boiling point so that you reach a point where in your waking life, your subconscious boils over into your conscious and you start picking up on things that are happening within the situation where you're like, okay, I cannot deny this anymore. This needs to be addressed. But then that's where we have this sacrifice. That's where, because at that point, I think, especially because this is a conflict that's already happening, at that point when you're like, okay, this needs to be addressed, I think you're already going to feel like weakened by all of the subconscious energies that have been attacking you. You're already going to feel like, oh my God, why have I not been paying attention to these like emotional attacks or these these energetic attacks? And I'm not trying to make you paranoid. I'm not trying to say that there's someone out to get you, because this can also very well be that this is not necessarily another person, but that this is an aspect within yourself where you are just not, where you're self-sabotaging, something where you're kind of like holding yourself back. That's also very possible. But for the majority of you, I do think that this is some kind of relationship, which doesn't have to be romantic, but some kind of person that you are in relation with that you have to deal with on a basis of, on a communal basis with the six of coins. Very interesting. Let's roll some dice. I think overall your dreams are really trying to be like, yeah, you need to trust your intuition. There's definitely something there. There's something that you don't quite trust, and it's for a reason. I did say investment earlier. We have the second house, we have Moon, and we have Virgo. Yes. Okay, the second house is your possessions, your finances, but it's also the house of self-worth. And then we have the Moon and Virgo. And this is about paying attention to your emotions, because your emotions aren't just bubbling up out of nowhere. I'm telling you, this is about, your dreams are trying to tell you that you have been neglecting to pay attention to those alarm bells. There's some emotional alarm bells that have been going off, whether somebody's overstepped, whether somebody's offended you, or something just isn't healthy for you. You've kind of just like been brushing over that, and probably for reasons that have to do with stability, with financial stability or emotional stability, where you're just like, no, I can't rock the boat because I need the money. I can't rock the boat because they're going to make me feel really insecure when they argue that I'm actually like crazy or something. I don't know. And again, because it feels like you don't want to rock the boat unless you have receipts. That's what the second house energy is. Like, I don't have material proof. And I think part of this is to, you know how women are always like, I knew it. When they find something out and they're like, I knew it. And you ask someone like, well, how did you know? I don't know. I just knew. And that's what this feels like. It's like when you do follow up on it with action, it becomes this situation of like, I knew it. And that's why it's so hurtful, because it's like, damn it, I knew it. Damn it. But you didn't trust your knowledge, because a part of you was like, no, I can't, not unless I have actual proof. And this story can go in so many ways. This can apply to so many situations, but there's something where you are being guided by your spirit team, by your intuition, by your subconscious to really, really, really trust that when you think something's fishy, that something is indeed very fishy. Look how many fish we have here. Okay, let's get some oracle cards. So for group 2, oh sorry, group 3. For group 3, can I get an oracle card? What are their dreams trying to tell them for group 3? Oh, look at that. Never fails. Listen to your guardian angel. You're not listening. You're not listening. Transform anger. You're going to feel really angry once you actually give in to trusting your intuition, because you're like, why did I not trust my gut sooner? And then you're going to be really like annoyed with yourself. Have some compassion for yourself. It's okay. Like you know, trying to trust people is technically the right thing, but you shouldn't trust other people more than you trust yourself. Oof. Someone write that down. Listen to your guardian angel. I'm telling you, you are protected. You are so protected. And something is like, your energetic alarm system is going off, being like, are you sure you want to invest in that? Whether that's finances, are you sure you want to invest in that person? Are you sure you want to invest in that career? Are you sure you want to invest in that job? Are you sure you want to invest in that friendship? All of those things. Are you sure you want to invest in that? One card for group 3. Look at that. Accountability. It's funny because I'm just talking about investment, and like accountability is kind of like an accountant. Responsibility is a gift of love to yourself and others. To yourself and others. It's about holding yourself accountable when you get that subconscious hit of like, are you sure? Holding yourself accountable and holding others accountable. And then key to intimacy. I do feel like for a lot of people, this is going to pertain to a specific relationship. Intimate love is a core need to be met in relation to ourselves and those closest to us. The journey to intimacy often includes learning what love is not. Okay, let's get 2 cards from this deck. This is my Spirit Whispers deck, and this is going to help us figure out how we can connect to our higher self, our spirit team, especially because they are clearly trying to communicate with you. We're going to get 2 cards on how to help you connect with your higher self or your spirit team. For group 3, how can they connect? How can they best connect? That is Akashic Records. Interesting. That's a heavy one. I'm going to get you an extra card because that's not going to be for everyone. Not at all. But it's interesting. And see, 2 came out. I knew I was going to get an extra one. That's funny. But it's interesting that that comes out right over Guardian Angel, because if you are familiar with the Akashic Records, you know that your masters and loved ones. There's another one. This is shame on me because I haven't connected in so long, and my spirit team has been telling me to, and I haven't made the effort. Masters Ascended one? No. Sorry, that's just bugging me. Is it masters, guides, and loved ones? No. Sorry, there's 3. And I'm forgetting one. But it's masters and loved ones. Anyways, those are your guardian angels. And so, guardian angels, guardian angels. So that's going to be for few of you. It's not going to be for everyone. Although, you know, if you're not familiar with the Akashic Records, this might be a point where you start discovering that. The Akashic Records come up when you are ready to learn about them. It is not my place to teach you about them, but if you do feel called, do some research. But essentially it is connecting to a great spiritual library that has a lot of guidance for you. Okay, the other card that came out is crystals, and then we have clairalience. Oh, that kind of came out earlier for group 2 as well. Crystals, meaning especially for protection, and there are a lot of crystals that can help you kind of set protective boundaries, and there are crystals that can help you eliminate unhealthy attachments in your life. So that might be something that you want to look into. Definitely I'm getting like protection is of the essence for you, because intuitively you're picking up on things, but there is like a vulnerability to your system where I think you need that proof. And working with certain crystals might end up giving you that proof. It might end up setting energetic boundaries in place that then lead to you receiving that proof. Smell, clairalience. You know how some people are just like, I don't like that person. There's something fishy about them, right? But there's something off about them. Like there's some kind of, I can't think of it now, but there's some kind of saying that's trying to come up about like when somebody just isn't your smell, like you just don't like their smell or something like that. Pay close attention to that. If you are having some kind of subconscious hits about someone and their smell is kind of off to you, there might be something there, because there are pheromones that we exude and that can really tell a lot about us. And it's not necessarily something that we smell directly, not the way that you would smell a perfume or anything like that, but we do pick up on that. And so pay attention to how you feel when someone's close enough for you to be able to smell them, because there's something there for sure. Okay, now let's pull one of these. And this is hopefully something a little bit more positive to close this out for group 3. Can we get a card about their dreams? Oops, the moon. Let me get one more of this. Oh my goodness, I said 1. Where did it go? Fell. Interesting, it fell to the ground, but it was leaning against my chair in a way where it was standing up like this. We have Hive and the moon. Hive is telling me about picking up senses, picking up a scent again, picking up a scent, but also that buzzing feeling. There's something there. And this also, again, could have to do with you, with the workplace, because the 6 of Pentacles, again, there's something of you probably not wanting to disturb the peace. You don't want to disturb a certain environment because there's some kind of symbiosis that is happening, a working together or working next to one another. But there's something where it's like, I can't ignore this any longer. And the moon, again, is talking about your intuition and listening to your intuition and getting into contact and close connection with your intuition. Now, we're going to take a look at this card. I have not seen it yet. Look at that. I'm telling you, for someone here, this definitely has to do with the workplace, because look at the fact that we have a group of people. I achieve with integrity. And that's what I was saying way earlier about how there's some kind of passive aggressiveness that is happening. I swear, this feels like a work situation where someone is not, you just don't jive with them, and it's complicating things for everyone, but you haven't been able to kind of like pinpoint why, or that there are some issues with their integrity. And again, going back to if this is a one-on-one friendship or relationship, then this is you not being able to trust that person, but still pretending like you trust them, and therefore ignoring your own intuition. And that ends up you resorting to ignoring your own integrity in an attempt to find proof. And this could be going through someone's phone, really trying to trap someone in a way where you can get proof. That might be something that's on your mind. I'm not saying you're doing that, but that might be something that's on your mind of like, oh, maybe if I just go through their phone right quick, then I could get proof one way or the other, and I can be sure, right? But that's where it's like, no, we need to trust our intuition, and we need to trust that if we are safe in this relationship or this friendship, that we should be able to address our concerns in a way where we can communicate about why these concerns are coming up. And again, if this is a workplace situation, I achieve with integrity is really just asking, keep your side of the street clean, right? Think about the group mentality, but don't sacrifice yourself for the benefit of the group. There's definitely something that needs to be addressed, and sometimes if there's an issue in a workplace and everyone else is just like, oh no, I'm not going to say anything, then we start feeling like, well, I don't want to be the drama person that brings it up, right? Even though bringing it up might actually bring it to the surface to a point where it can be addressed. But then we have to deal with the fact that, oh, like, hey guys, we're having this meeting today because so-and-so is offended by this, so we all have to address it. And it makes us feel like, oh, I'm being dramatic, or I'm being like, I'm doing the most. And that's not fair. Things like that need to be brought to the surface so that they can be addressed, so the whole team can work together, okay? So there's so many different layers to this. I really hope it makes sense. I'm gonna leave it there. I achieve with integrity, very important. Also very important if you are getting the sense that the whole workplace that you're at is toxic, or your whole friend group. It's like, okay, you can go and find new, okay? All right, whew, this one was heavy. I'm gonna leave it there. I really hope it resonated. I hope it made sense. I hope it provided some guidance. And I do hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care.